I'm incredibly proud to be Canadian, and if you are, you should be too. Today's Canada Day. Happy Canada Day. We live in a phenomenal country, and of course, a lot of room for improvement. But there are places in this world where you are executed for having a certain opinion. There is still slave labor. You have no freedom to do what you want, which we have in this country. We also have some of the most magnificent scenery in the world. I've been to every province from St. John's, Newfoundland, all the way over to Vancouver Island in Victoria. We have incredible culture on the East Coast. We have the beautiful mountains in the West. And shout out to the Arctic too. I haven't been up to the Canadian Arctic yet, but it looks absolutely stunning. Today I'm thinking about the people before us that have paid the ultimate sacrifice for us to be here today and enjoy these freedoms. I think about the soldiers in World War II that were about to storm the beaches in Normandy, Juno Beach in France. Those soldiers that when that gate on that boat went down, when the Nazis were picking people off from the cliffs of the shores of Normandy, the people that didn't even make it out of the boat onto the beach, the people that made it to the beach on D-Day, and didn't make it out alive. Without those soldiers sacrificing, we're not here today. We may be speaking a different language. And yes, I live in Toronto, and I can tell you right now that I am unhappy in certain regards with respect to our federal government, our provincial government, and our municipal government. As Winston Churchill once famously said, and I'll paraphrase, that democracy is the worst form of government except for all the other ones tried. So yes, we're not perfect, but I am incredibly thankful to be Canadian. So happy Canada Day, and I hope that you all enjoy your day as well. Happy Canada Day. That was day 24 of my 100-day public speaking challenge. I posted that video across all my social platforms earlier today. I always think about on Canada Day why I'm incredibly thankful to be Canadian. As I already said, that does not mean that we're perfect. That does not mean that we can't improve as a country. I always will say I don't care to do politics publicly. I really don't. I feel like at some point I might throw in some opinions here and there, but I don't think politically on a day like today. It's just, what do we have? What are we thankful for? Yes, we can be better, and let's move on. I have family that was in the military. My grandfather, John, served during World War II. He did not serve overseas. He stayed in Canada training soldiers to the best of my recollection. But there are soldiers out there that did serve and did not make it home. And without them, I'm probably not here right now. And by no means am I suggesting that we have the perfect history in Canada, but no country does. None of us are perfect. Not one human being has ever been perfect. Why do we hold ourselves to this perfect standard? It doesn't make any sense. Of course, I already got some hate on my Canada Day video. If you want to look at it right now, it's on my YouTube short. Look, you can choose to be happy or you can choose to be miserable. And the fact is, there's a lot of people out there that would just rather be miserable, and they'd rather point out flaws and everything, and they'll just never be happy. I don't waste my time and energy on that. So that's Canada Day. Happy Canada Day. If you are Canadian, you should be proud. And I'm going to move on to the next subject now, which is just the podcast in general. This is the second proper full solo episode that I'm doing. I don't think this one's going to be as long as the last one I did, because I actually got to get running very shortly to go to the Jays Canada Day game. But I just wanted to speak a little bit in terms of why I'm doing this podcast. I have found through following podcasts extensively for the last few years that it seems as though any entrepreneur nowadays, or especially ones that are coming up, and I mean on the big stage, has either their own podcast or they do the rounds and they go on other people's podcasts. So I wanted to start doing this one just because I knew I'd love it, and I can already tell that I love it. So the fact that I love doing this makes it really easy for me to exert the effort to do it. It does not make the process easy. It's going to be very hard. It's going to require a lot of hard work in addition to my law practice. And I know that. And I know that I have to put a lot of hard work into this before I ever see any sort of returns on this. It's going to take hundreds and hundreds of episodes. It may take 500 episodes for me to get anywhere. And I'm telling you right now, today, July 1st, 2026, I am prepared to put in that work. As I said, exerting the effort is not going to be that hard, I don't think, because I have so much fun doing this. By the way, I think there's an outdoor concert going on near me, so I don't know if my microphone's picking some extra noise up, but I'm going to do my best to run through this rather quickly. I almost feel like I'm choosing to have my therapy in public. I feel like between doing the speaking challenge and between doing the podcast, it's almost like I'm journaling, but in public. I don't journal. I don't go to therapy. I'm not making a judgment on any of this, by the way. Journaling and therapy seems to be great for people. Do it. I'm not saying don't. I'm just saying I don't do it, or at least I don't do it yet. But I find that this helps, just kind of putting my thoughts and my energy out into the universe. I feel like it's my work email. I really need to mute my computer notifications when I do these recordings. I kind of lost my train of thought there. But anyhow, through this podcast, I seek to teach through my curiosity. My hope is that my audience, you, whoever that is, if anyone ever listens to this, I hope that you can learn through my curiosity. And I think that the greatest of all time at that, it goes without saying in the podcast world, is Joe Rogan. I learn through his curiosity, through the different guests that he has on, through a broad spectrum of different subject matters. Similar to Joe, I think that one of my strong suits is being able to connect in conversation with people of various backgrounds, whether it's by occupation, where they're from, what they believe in. I feel like I can have a conversation with anybody. And the best podcasts that I follow, the ones that I enjoy the most, of course, yes, can be entertaining, can be hilarious. I was killing myself laughing at one of Theo Vaughn's pods today. But I think the best podcasts are the ones that I learn from. So I hope through, once I start getting more guests on, which is primarily how I want to do this, I'm just doing the solo episodes for now to get my reps in, that you're going to take away, even if it's one thing, you think to yourself, wow, I never knew that. So that's my hope. I'm going to run through my dream guests on my podcast. I just want to put it out there. And when I say this, it doesn't necessarily mean that they come on mine. It could mean maybe I build myself up eventually where I get to go on theirs. So either way, whether they come on mine, I'm on theirs, if either happens, I would consider that a goal checked off. So I'll just start with the obvious, Joe Rogan. I don't think he really goes on others. So yeah, I'm putting it out there. I one day would love to be a guest on the Joe Rogan podcast. Right now, that's nowhere close to happening because I know that Joe talks to people that he thinks would be interesting to talk to, and I got to build myself up to that. You know, hopefully one day maybe he finds what I do interesting, and if that day comes, I don't know what that subject matter is going to be. But anyhow, I just like to put these absurd goals out there because they almost seem like they're attainable if you actually say them and put them out to the world. Gary Vaynerchuk, the master entrepreneur, someone that I've learned a lot from, someone who inspired me to start my own business. So, although it seems like Gary is more willing to go on other people's, so that one could be realistic. So we'll come back to this video if that happens. Cody Sanchez, who does the Big Deal podcast, she's a business genius. I think that a lot of what she says is very common sense based. She is an expert basically in buying businesses. She used to work on Wall Street. Check her stuff out. I repost a lot of her stuff Chris Williamson from Modern Wisdom, that's one that I've gotten into a lot more in the last 2 months or so. I knew who Chris was before from appearing on Rogan and Diary of a CEO, but I listened to his show with Naval from last March, which would have been 2025. Incredibly fascinating. I think Chris and I could chop it up pretty well. Some people are going to be pissed at me for saying this next one, but I quite frankly don't give a shit. And I don't know how many people are going to listen to this. Anyway, I think that Jordan Peterson and I would have an incredible discussion of high intellect. I certainly don't I certainly don't agree with all of his takes, but that doesn't matter. I'm not someone that only wants to have people on because I agree with them. I don't care to do politics, but I would be open to having politicians on. And I don't care which party they're from, quite frankly. That's not what it's about for me. Michael Smoke, my inspiration for the Higher Up Wellness Public Speaking Challenge. Mel Robbins. What I love about Mel is she is highly self-aware, and she's not afraid to be vulnerable and put out her shittiest moments of her as a person. And I think that makes her very relatable. She does a very good job of taking complex thought processes, and putting them into plain language for people to understand. Tony Robbins, the GOAT, in terms of public speaking. I would have an amazing conversation with Tony Robbins. I know that. Alex and Layla Hermosi, a power couple, I guess you could say, power entrepreneurial couple, both incredibly smart and incredibly bright. And I would love to have a conversation with either of them. Stephen Bartlett from Diary of a CEO. I think he's a year older, born the year before me. Very smart guy. Has developed one of the world's best podcasts. So I would love to chop it up with Stephen. And lastly, and I could end up having more. I just jotted a bunch of names down before I started this. Rich Roll. If I remember correctly, Rich Roll used to be a lawyer before he left. Anyway, he's a great internet personality now. You should check out his podcast, the Rich Roll Podcast. He does some solo episodes. He has some great perspective to offer. He struggled with addiction. I believe it was alcohol, maybe something else in addition to that. I don't recall. But I think one day Rich and I could have a great conversation. So I wanted to put those out there. I'm just going to go to some random observations that I've had since I filmed my last episode. I just like to put things out there. Maybe sometimes a thought will resonate with someone. I said this in my last episode, but if you ever have a reaction or something that you liked, or if you have any suggestions, just send me a message, send me a DM, whatever. I'm open to hearing these things and how I can make it better. One thought that I had in the last couple of days is reframing. I'm not afraid of that. I thought to myself, there are certain things, and I talk a lot about facing fear and so forth, that maybe I used to be afraid of that I don't think I'm afraid of now. And instead of saying I'm not afraid of that, I think that it's more powerful to say, I'm not afraid of that anymore. And when you add that anymore, to me, it's a little more powerful because you're acknowledging that you were afraid of it. If you just say, I'm not afraid of that, but maybe you were, it's almost as if maybe you're hanging on to it a little bit. Maybe you are still fearful of whatever that thing is. But when you add that anymore, you are acknowledging to the person you're speaking to. So whoever's listening to this, for example, internet hate. I'm not afraid of that anymore. I'm not going to lie. I was always afraid of hate, whether it was just talking shit casually or people maybe misinterpreting something that I said and thinking that I'm someone else. I mean, that's a comment I got in my YouTube short today. So someone basically called me a bigot on YouTube today. It's insane, ridiculous. Just people that choose to be miserable. But the point is, I'm not afraid of that anymore. And I think that is just a more powerful way of saying it and moving on. I had a doctor appointment the other day. If you're watching on video, you may see that I have some bruising in my left eyelid. I had a cyst form under my eyelid just over 2 months ago, and it was the first time that I've actually had to get an incision in one to have it drain properly because it wouldn't drain. And when I was waiting for my doctor, I remember I intentionally in the waiting room put my phone in my pocket, have my phone on D&D, and I just wanted to sit there with my boredom. I just wanted to take in what was going on, because I feel like we are so tempted to pull out our phones and browse through them. I do it too. When I'm waiting, especially if I can maybe get a work email done, whatever. But when you just put away your device, even if it's 5 minutes, and just sit there with your thoughts, I feel like we're not used to that anymore. Today, Canada Day, was the leg workout day in my cycle. And it was one of those days where I wake up and I know it's time to go to the gym, and I don't really want to get out of bed. What does get me out of bed, though, is the fact that I've made so many friends at my gym, which is in my building. So it's like I wake up and within 20 to 25 minutes, I get to see a bunch of my friends. So I do like that part. But legs are a muscle group that is very easy to neglect. And I can't stress enough how important building up your legs are in the grand scheme of your physique. Your legs are your foundation. So yes, it sucks. But I remember when I had finished my workout and I'm in the pool just relaxing, thinking to myself, it was one of those days where I didn't want to be here for the first little bit after I woke up, but I'm so glad that I came and I worked my ass off and I got this done. Another thought I want to put out into the ether. I wrote this down. Sometimes I'll just pull out my notes app on my phone if I have a thought and I write it down right away. Maybe I like it, maybe I don't the next day, whatever. This is just a thought that I put out there, that I wrote down that I want to put out there. People have a hard time understanding a job you didn't have to go to school for. People seem to be taught that you can only get a job related to something that you do a test on. So the way I wrote that down was a little raw, but I think that what I was trying to say is I think that school, and for the record, when I say school, growing up, elementary school, high school, that sort of thing, I was an excellent student. I was an A+ student. I graduated near whatever, I don't even remember, near the top of my class in elementary school and in high school. And I'm telling you this not to boast. I'm telling you this that, number one, at 33, that's all irrelevant. It doesn't matter. But number two, someone who took a lot of pride in school, that tried very hard at school, that did very well in school, and I'm telling you, school is not everything, okay? I feel like school teaches us that we pay attention to subjects that we don't like, we study, we memorize, we sit down, we do a test, we regurgitate details, we get a mark. If you do well on these tests, you get into, quote, better schools, and then you can get, quote, better jobs. But really, my perspective on this has changed so much, especially in the last 3 years. In my opinion, the best jobs are the ones that you create yourself. Those are the ones that you gamble. There's so many entrepreneurs that I follow that are worth millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions, billions of dollars. And I tell you right now, and they'll be the first to admit, they were not the best in school. But here's the problem. Who are the teachers in school that are forcing this type of thought pattern on students? Well, if you're a teacher, you're not an entrepreneur. So it's almost like it's a lack of perspective. And I'm not saying it's like this with every teacher. There are some people that are teachers that they are amazing teachers, and if you are great at it and you love it, you should do that. But I'm saying from a societal structure point of view, we seem to train kids to think that the only way you can succeed in life is by doing well at school. And yes, school is important, and you can do well at school, but also have an imagination beyond your fucking test score. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay? So let's just not get caught up in the fact that school is the end all to be all, because it's not. My last thought here, and I'm going to end it just shy of 20 minutes, hopefully. I haven't publicly, quotes, announced my podcast yet. I kind of did last year as a trial, but that was when it was only on YouTube. I have not announced that I'm on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, which I will very soon. My thought is I'm going to wait until I have another episode with a guest before I do that. But anyway, maybe I'll change my mind on that. But I'll be honest with anyone who listens. There's always going to be a part of you that wonders, how is this going to be taken? What are people going to say? What are people going to say to you? What are they going to say behind your back? And maybe you never hear about it. And I had this thought, and I'm going to end the podcast on this thought. If you think that what I'm doing is stupid or silly, then grab a fucking microphone, get in front of a camera, and do this better than I'm doing it. And if you do, all the power to you. Until then, shut the fuck up. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode.